Hey there, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be doing a video here on how to replace the screen assembly on a basically brand new 14-inch M2 Pro Macbook Pro. I don't know if this is a real issue yet, but I've had two of this exact same repair in the last week, where the display somehow gets a hairline fracture in the lower left corner of the screen, but it's on the inside. The outer glass isn't cracked, the inside glass is cracked. So I don't know if it's two different users that closed the screen with something sitting on the keyboard, or if this is some kind of manufacturing issue that we'll see more of in the future. But regardless, we have to switch it out. Let me show you guys some of the tools that are needed here. First of all, you need a suction cup. Okay. You need spudgers. These are also called black sticks. These are probably one of the most useful tools like ever. ESD safe tweezers. Apple is a big believer in ESD safety, so do your ESD safe stuff. And then a few assorted drivers. So we need a T8. We'll need a T5 Torx. There we go, T5. We need a P5 Pentalobe. Okay, this is for taking the bottom cover off. We need a T3. Most MacBook repairs is a lot of T3s, T5s, and T8s. And then I'm not sure which one of these we're going to need. I think it's the T1 Torx driver. And that really should be about it. This is not too crazy of a repair, but some parts are kind of difficult. So, and now as I'm going along here, you won't be able to see this on camera because I'm using this Apple Ventura Desk View feature, trying that for the first time. But if you look over here, I'll be using a magnetic parts tray to keep all of my tools organized. All the tools are over here. And then I also have, let's see if I can get that, a little iMac Pro over here with the actual Apple service guide up on it. So sorry, this is kind of confusing to do with this camera. Apologize if I gave anybody motion sickness. But here we are. Okay, all right, let's get started here. Should be good. Okay. This is kind of crazy that we can do this now. I don't know how it's doing this ultra wide angle camera, but it's pretty awesome. Okay, so first thing we need to do, we're going to use the Pentalobe, the P5, to remove all the screws on the bottom case. So Apple says the top ones come out first. And it's important, definitely, when you're removing these, to keep them in the same order. I'll do it up here so you guys can see how I do these. So this way, when you're putting it back together, some of these screws are going to be different sizes. So this way, you can very easily tell where things go. You won't be able to see all the screws, just due to how this desk view thing works. But so those first three are the same size. All four of those are the same size. Okay, and then now take off the bottom ones next. Hopefully this music I picked is non-copyrighted, so hopefully we won't have any issues there. Alrighty, so then next we're going to need to use the suction cup to pop up the pins that hold us down. Now on past MacBooks you had to use a bit of a sort of a whole separate jig to get this thing off, but not anymore. Sometimes, especially on fresh ones that have never been opened before. There we go. Okay, let's set the cover aside. Come back to that later. Okay, so that's what the inside of a 14-inch M2 Pro MacBook Pro looks like. So CPU fans, that's the whole system on a chip back here. The GPU, kind of everything's right there. On these, I'm pretty sure maybe the RAM modules and everything are just built into just this big block right there. Okay, so we're gonna have to remove a lot of things here. It's very important on any MacBook repair. The first thing you do is disconnect power. Okay, on this model, there's going to be this one right here. It's called the BMU screw. So we have to take this ribbon off, and then there's a screw underneath this ribbon as well that has to come out. So this MacBook is not safe to work on to begin with until this is removed. That's always step one. Okay. So you want to just, here it's very helpful to have your ESD tweezers. Go in here and very gently pull this guy out. There we go. Okay. I know you guys can't see that very well, but there's that little ribbon cable right there. So next thing we need to do is use our, looks like a T5 here. Remove this cowling. Now it's a T3. Remove this cowling. And I am using an ESD wrist strap, just so you guys know. I usually like to wear it further up on my arm to keep it out of the way. Sure my ground is good before I really get started here. Okay, so we take off this guy. Okay. These tiny little screws always fall all over the place. Now officially Apple recommends there is a cover that covers up all the batteries while you're working. That is officially the right thing to do, and I recommend everyone always does that, but I find that they get in the way sometimes, so I try to just be very careful and not mess with the battery. So once you peel this ribbon cable back, very gently so you don't damage it, this screw right here, that's a T5, that fully disconnects power from the logic board. So once this screw is disconnected, this Mac is now officially safe to work on. Okay. Now we're not really going to have to mess with anything down on this side, but we are going to have to take a bunch of things off up here. Okay, so let's see, where do we want to get started? So usually, I think the first thing that has to come out is the Wi-Fi antenna bar, and that's also going to involve these two display hinge covers also coming off. So usually I like to just go on and start with those. Those are also T5s. Again, on my little magnetic parts tray, I always give every different part its own little box. No, not yet. Nope, I guess that one doesn't come out yet. Okay, so first on this model. So let me just make sure. Displays. That's what the good old handy service guide is here for. Yes, the vent antenna module comes out first. So okay, start right here. Take off the cover that holds down the Wi-Fi antennas and the Bluetooth antennas. These little covers, in Apple speak, are called cowl covers. Okay, there's not so many of them on the Apple Silicon MacBooks, but on the Intel ones there were zillions of them all over the place. And you know what? One of my crucial tools isn't here. Oh, there it is. Forgot a tool. So we also need this. This is the Wi-Fi antenna removal tool. So these ones, you just kind of grab it down here, really close to the bottom. Okay. Just gotta pull these guys out. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. And then next step, we'll take this guy out. for these guys. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So these ones I believe are this one, the T1. Now all these screws are the same length, but I like to put them all in the same place anyway. You know, in a straight line, just like how they came off. So when I'm putting them back together, I know that every single screw is going exactly where it's supposed to go. Okay, so 3, 1, 2. I gotta say, this desk view thing is pretty cool. This is really cool, being able to record a video from this angle. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. Now, one thing to note about these, about pretty much all MacBook Pros, starting with the 16-inch Intel MacBook Pros, and also basically all of the Apple Silicon MacBook Pros. So the M1 Pro, M2 Pro, M1 Max, M2 Max, so on and so forth. On those models, you cannot replace the display without replacing also the lid angle sensor. So those two parts must always be replaced at the same time. The lid angle sensor is underneath here. This is the ribbon cable for it right here. So we're going to be taking that off as well. And then this part requires system configuration to be run in the end, which is a special Apple tool to make sure all these parts are legit and are the parts Apple actually sent for an official repair and all these things. So that's got to be run, and this setup will not work properly until all of that is done properly. Important to note, the lid angle sensor can only go through system configuration one time, so you have to really follow the instructions on the screen, because if you mess it up, this part has to be replaced again. It can only be programmed once. Okay, so moving along now. Next ones we're going to be taking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I believe those are T5s again. T5s. Yes, they are. Once again, we're always going to put them all in a straight line so we know exactly where they came from. Apple likes to use 50 million different kinds of screws, and it's very easy to forget what goes where. So it's very important to be to keep your screws organized, because believe me, it doesn't get easier at the end. So that antenna bars is pretty much ready to come up already. Let's get you out of the way. Look how easy that was. This was so much harder on the Intel MacBooks. This was such a difficult, just obnoxious part to replace, but thank goodness. Yay, Apple Silicon. Okay. So let's see. So next. Alright, so we're actually kind of almost ready to take the display out here. We're getting close to it. So now, see, we already unscrewed these ones. So we can go on and pop those out now. And that's what these little display covers look like. Okay, so now we're going to have some more T5s. These guys right here. Those are T3s. T3s right here. Screw, so we gotta knock it out of there. Always find your screws. Don't be that guy that leaves a screw in there like a Dell technician would do. Okay, there's 1, and there's 2. take off lid angle sensor as well. These are all little T3s. Okay, so now with the lid angle sensor, take your black stick, pop it up. Okay, and then there's going to be one more screw to remove back here that holds it down. I think that is this guy again. That's a T1 again. Yep. Okay, and there is the lid angle sensor. Okay, so that's what that looks like. It's not really a whole lot to it, just kind of a ribbon cable with a little sensor at the end. Now again, that part will be replaced. So now all that's left for this display to come off is just these ribbons right here. These just get popped up. So very carefully. Very, very gently, okay. And then there's going to be some T8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's start on this side. These are usually in really tight at first. Understandable, because you don't want your display. Now these are all the same size as well, so you can put those all in the same screw box on your parts tray. And I just want to also point out that if you look really closely, I don't know if this will show up on the camera. It's hard to get the right angle here. These actually come with a little bit of a thread lock, or blue thread lock, on the tip of them. So these are usually really, really tough to get out the very first time. So with that, all the tools out of the way, this display should now come off. So to take the display off, I don't know if I'll be able to pick this up on the camera. Let's see. Lean it back a little. Okay, so you open it up and you lean it over the edge of the desk, like so. See if I can get back a little more. Okay. Hopefully that's quality's coming out okay. And then open the monitor very carefully all the way up. And then lift. So we still got to pop these guys up. Okay. And then lift. And the display has been removed. Okay. Now I believe there are two parts inside this display here that we'll have to keep. So these little plastic things. Okay, kind of hang on to those for the new display. They just kind of slide out of there. All right, so before I continue, there is some quick, I have to scan the old codes into the system to make sure that this part gets entered properly. So you guys won't be able to see this part. But give me 2 seconds. And display silver. KBB number. I need my barcode scanner. Okay. And the KGB. See all this? Probably not. All right, I think that's all I need to enter. It doesn't look like they require the lid angle sensor to be scanned in, so I'll come back to that display in a second. Next thing, let's get this display out of the way. Shoot you back where you're supposed to be, right here. Actually, that needs to be Probably that way still. Sorry, bear with me guys, I'm just getting parts ready. New angle sensor comes in a little box like so. So it's basically just that's it. Okay, so we're gonna need that. And let me put the old one, I need that screw. Let me just remove that screw from the old one. Okay. Put that one back in the box right away so it doesn't get mixed up. So there's one part. Out of here, the display out of here. Okay, so the display comes nicely wrapped up part. Apple's usually really good about giving you all the washers and seals and kind of whatever you need to do a repair properly, but in this case the displays don't really have any special stuff that they need, so you just kind of get right into this. Everything's getting all the plastic, all the adhesive and crap off of there. Nice brand new display assembly, right? Brand spanking new, still sticker over the Apple logo and everything. So now the most annoying part of this display replacement is these little plastic things that I mentioned earlier, right? So when you're putting those back on, you'll see what I mean in a second, because we're going to be getting into that pretty much right away. You got to get these guys back in there and get everything lined up on here, and it's very, very obnoxious. So let's see how this goes. All right. So same thing again to get started out with here. Push the camera back some more again. So bring this back to the edge of the table. Okay. So want to use your fingers and see if I can get that. This angle's so difficult. Bend these kind of back out of the way, so they don't get in the way while you're doing this part. It's pretty easy, just set it over the edge to lean forward, and those cables can sit down like that, and then we can loosely put in those T8 screws, the 6 that were back here. Just put them in loosely for now. Actually, you can just start out with 2 of them. You don't have to do all of them just yet. So with just 2 of them in loosely, you can kind of close everything back up. Okay, and flip this back around, position that we're used to with better video quality and stuff. There we go. Much better. Okay. All right. So that's that done. We can go on and put in the other ones really loosely. I say loosely is so we still need to adjust it to make sure everything's nice and flat here. See, again, like I hate to trash Dell, but this is the kind of thing that Dell wouldn't do, but that Apple customers will simply not tolerate. The final product has to look brand new, or your customer is going to complain. Everything has to line up perfectly, look brand new, or you're definitely going to get angry calls back from that person. So the way I do this before I start tightening down, run your fingers along the edges, make sure you can't feel. So I can tell down here that it's not perfectly centered. So just get it lined up as much as you can. That's pretty good. Yeah, what you don't want to feel, run your finger down, you don't want to feel any kind of edge. It should be smooth everywhere. If you can feel that lip, believe me, someone's going to complain. Because when it came out of the factory, you couldn't feel anything. Okay, so smooth, smooth, smooth. There you go. That's good. And let's get you tightened down. So now we can fully tighten these. I like to go in stages, so because it can sometimes shift around on you while you're tightening these. So here, outside, outside, inside. Okay, and then tight, tight. Here's what I consider to be the pain in the ass part. So I gotta get these guys in here. So these have to end up like so. It's kind of tricky. Okay, so this back ribbon has to get kind of coiled back there. Okay, so that is the wrong way, so these got to go the other way. Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to get lined up. And then you got to tilt the front cable. I know I'm not capturing this properly on the camera, but it's really a pain in the butt to get that lined up properly. And if you damage this cable, it's very easy to bend. And if you damage it, you got to replace the whole display again. I'm gonna probably tighten that one down first. Like it at all. Yeah, so when you get one of those down, just tighten, secure that, and then move on to the next one. tweezers are not being very magnetic today, and it's making everything difficult. Okay. So don't tighten these all the way tight yet, because you need still need room to maybe shift around a little bit. All right, let's get this next side. So, to me, the easiest way, put the plastic guy on first. Alright, and then you're making sure that these two little poles line up. There's a little hole right there, and another little hole right there. Okay, so get that guy in place, all lined up. Insert this, so get this ribbon tucked down underneath, which is in itself an adventure. Okay, this is not one of the more friendly designs from Apple, but you can get through it. Okay, snap it down nice and good. Okay, and then again, the tricky part is you now got to get these ribbons here tucked down in there, but not so far that you can't lever these guys onto those little connectors. It's just very, very tedious. You have to be so careful because you can damage these ribbons very, very easily. Okay, so you see how I got them, I don't know if you can see that, see how I now got them tucked down. I just have to get them. So one of the things that actually helps a lot, the Wi-Fi antenna tool, in addition to being used as little kind of mini tweezers to remove, it's got a flat end, and this flat end is very good at helping to tap down these flat ribbon connectors. I use that all the time, so we may end up using that here shortly, so we'll keep that ready. This part is just as fiddly, and sorry, my fingers are just going to be blocking everything, so I'll just try and get through it as quickly as possible. I wish I could show you this angle, but that I see, but Desk View just doesn't work that way. Okay, actually those went on really easy this time. Okay, so put down the next cowl cover. And these are T3s. So next thing I think we need to do is put the lid angle sensor back on. That makes sense to do that now. So again, this is literally just one screw. Let's see if I can get this for you. There's a little hook right there. Okay, that hook hooks around. There's a little point, little nub right there, and then it just held down with one screw. So somehow this little sensor right there, that little sensor can somehow tell, I guess there must be a magnet or something mounted to, let me see if I can get that on the camera. There must be a magnet mounted to right there. So the sensor reads off of that somehow, and it can do various laptop, MacBook display statuses based on the angle that the display is open. Because of how small this one is, it can be very difficult just to hold it in place while you're doing it. Sometimes I like to go on ahead and connect this side, which kind of helps it stay in place some. Okay. Yeah, you're just not going to be able to see that, so. so small and so fiddly, it's really hard to keep this one sitting still while you just put this one screw in. Let's try a different approach. Let's put the screw in here first and then set it down. Sometimes that's the easier way. Not this time. There we go. Okay. What a pain in the butt. It's so tiny. It's always one screw that gets you stuck for the whole thing. There we go. It's literally all that for one screw. Okay. Let me go on and plug this guy back in for now. All that trouble for one screw. Wi-Fi bar back in. Okay, and all right, so we're back to T5s. never put all these in tight at first, so I get them all in loose and then go back over and tighten them down in the end. This piece does not have to be super Hercules tight. Okay. Alrighty, and then the next ones are going to be, we could probably put these guys back in now. Let's go on and do that. Oh no, I made a boo-boo. I was supposed to put these guys back in first. So we gotta take the antenna bar back off again. That's what I get for not following along with the service manual. Yeah, these Apple Silicon ones are a little different. On the Intel ones, those display hinge covers can be pretty much taken on and off anytime. As a matter of fact, it's actually mandatory to take those off first before you can do this bar. One's a little bit backwards, but that's okay. Just cost us 3 minutes. Okay, and those just slide in place like that, and like that. Part again. Almost done here. Next we can put these 9 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And those were all T3s. What were these little tiny guys? Those are the T1s. Love when these tiny screws bounce around on me. There you are. just so y'all can really see how tiny these screws are. Keep in mind, this is a T1. That is a T1 Torx bit right there. I'm trying to think of like what I could compare this to. Like, here's a normal size laptop, a laptop screwdriver. Okay, and that's, look how small this is compared to that, right? So, okay, let me continue here. These screws are, simply put, completely obnoxious, and I hate them very much. And they're somehow not as small as the screws that were on the antenna bar screws that were on the Intel MacBook Pros. Those were like pieces of dust. Okay, and that's it for those. And now we have this guy back on. It's also a T3. Come on, man. Next step would be to reconnect the antennas. So 1, 2, 3 antennas. 2 are Wi-Fi, 1's Bluetooth. And I don't know if that'll show up on there, but these teeny tiny little points here, 1, 2, 3, which you got to connect them to. Okay, so we'll need this tool again. Grab it just right at the edge. It's too high up. Okay, those are snapped in. Now we put the cowl cover that holds those 3 in place. It's weird that they put that on these Apple Silicon MacBooks, because the Intel MacBooks did not have a brace to hold those down. They just stayed on by themselves all the time. Those were T3s, I believe. Actually kind of on the home stretch here. These are the last couple of screws before we're done. So that's it as far as the actual display replacement part. So now all that's left is to put the screw back on, reconnect the BMU cable, and I believe this cable is either for the keyboard or for the touchpad, for the trackpad. So let's see. That's a T5, so we've got to do this one first. Okay, so we kind of gently peel these back to screw in. Tighten this guy all the way down. So with that, this logic board is live again. There is now electricity running through it again, so we must be careful. And I didn't really get to show you guys this connector actually has a locking lever on it. It's a locking connector, so we have to slide that in and then use the black stick, this side of the black stick, that side of the black stick, flat side, not the pointy side, you'll break it. You'll break this, I mean. Flat side to lock that locking lever back down again. So sometimes you can just do these by your hand. You might not need tweezers, but sometimes they're difficult and you gotta use your tweezers. So slide it in there. Very gently pull it forward. It's nice and properly seated. And remember, use this side, hold it flat against it, slide it forward to lock down the locking lever. And then bam, done. And then we can plug you back in, put this guy back on, final cowl cover back on, Again, some more T3s to hold this guy down. I need to remagnetize my tools because this is obnoxious today. Everything keeps falling. So with that being said, that's the end. So all we have to do now is put the cover back on. Okay. So on these covers, you're going to notice that there are little hooks right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those hooks are going to hook in underneath this silver bar. They hook in right here. Okay. What you want to do is seat it. Put this side down first. Actually, no, let's go this side first. Okay. I actually kind of prefer the Intel ones in terms of this particular part. But at least these ones, you don't need any fancy special tools. There you go. Okay, and then it's just now from here, it's just a reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these were all pentalobes, right? So don't forget, the bottom covers on most Apple products are held on with the 5-point. I don't know if you can see that. 5-point, not a 6-point, 5-point. It's called a pentalobe. A 6-point would be a Torx. Okay. 1, 2. Out of the way. So that's it. No screws left. Everything is done. And I believe, take this off. They use some really annoying adhesive now. Always leaves this part behind. From mine. So let's see. If you can see that. Too bright. Turn off some lights. Bam, working display. Beautiful. Anyway, so there is some left to this install still. This is not the end of it. I won't be able to show on this video because Desk View doesn't really allow me to show that angle, but I still have to do some post-repair diagnostics. I have to do full diagnostic tests, run a trackpad calibration test, and also do system configuration, which requires putting this into DFU mode, and then running a quick system configuration thing through the Apple Diagnostics interface. It takes about 5 minutes, but if you don't do it, the lid angle sensor will never work properly, and it will prevent certain MacBook features from working at all for security purposes. But that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll get this uploaded to Facebook and YouTube, and probably my work training videos as soon as possible. Have a good one, guys. Bye.